This is Jordan Poole, standing 27 feet away from the basket. And with 20 seconds left in the shot clock, here's what he did.
Poole a three.
Now, a couple of possessions later, JP3 was added once again. But this time around, he hit this one from the parking lot.
Poole, long three-pointer. Got it.
Man, with those long bombs, it looks like the Warriors never really missed Steph out there. And although they lost that night against the new and improved Lakers by 6 points, the Dubs proved that they can hang with any team on any given night. Cause take a look here. JP3 had 29 in that game, Klay had 15, Wiggins had 12, and the bench guys like Ty Jerome and JaMychal Green also chipped in a couple of buckets as well. Now the reason why I talk about this is that despite Steph being out from an injury, the Dubs should not sound the alarm bells just yet with their current state, as the remaining players can definitely hold their own. ESPN's Zach Lowe talks about how Steph's injuries will impact the Dubs in the next couple of weeks as the playoffs draw near, and here's a snippet of it.
The difference between Curry on the bench in games and knowing Curry's not going to play and rejiggering your rotation to account for that. And the other thing is, like, again, all this panic about what their record is going to be. All these other teams are 500 teams. They're all going to be 500. Like, that's what they all are 500 teams. It's unlikely that
New Orleans is a 500 team now.
Yeah, they're going to go 10-1 in their next 11 games. Like, so I think it's survivable for them.
As Lois said, the Dubs should be fine even without Steph as they play the next couple of games. Because as you can see in the graphics right here, the Dubs are actually playing quite decently even without Steph, with an 8-10 record this season, while still shooting at a high clip of 46.2% from the field and 37% from three. Now, this is the list of the Warriors' schedule from mid-February to March, and if we're going to take a quick look at these teams, you can see that this is a winnable stretch for the Dubs, because they pretty much own their season series matchup against weaker teams this season, like the Rockets, Wizards, and OKC. They've also even defeated some heavyweight playoff teams like the Grizzlies and the Clippers earlier this season. During this stretch, it's not hard to imagine seeing the Dubs winning 8 games with 7 wins being a relatively conservative number. Now, there's also a slim chance that the Dubs could only win 6 games or less if they really drop the ball. But then again, that rarely happens, because the Dubs always find a way to win games even without their superstars, or whenever they're undermanned. I mean, Klay was out for almost the entire first half of last season due to his Achilles injury, but in spite of this, the Dubs still managed to stay afloat and found a way to patch things up until he got back into the lineup, and eventually, they won the title later on. This season, Wiggins was also sidelined because of an injury last December, and even without him, the Dubs were still able to stack up some wins, which includes a 5-game winning streak as they entered the month of January. Now, one of the constants for the Dubs is Jordan Poole, who's averaging 20.9 points, 4.5 assists while shooting 42.3% from the field, and almost 34% from 3 this season. JP3 was so good that on some occasions, you would actually think that he's a much taller and quicker version of Steph Curry with the way he scores the rock. I mean, take a look here. This is a play they usually run for Steph, but since he's not in the lineup, Jordan Poole takes his place in the meantime. As Draymond calls out the play, JP3 just runs underneath the basket and then uses Looney's pin-down screen to get himself open and knock down this corner 3. Now, speaking of JP3, he played like the chef that night against the Blazers as he cooked 38 points while tying his season high by splashing 7 threes. And this is just one perfect example that the Dubs can still put up a good fight even without Steph. And in addition, JP3 actually plays huge by averaging 28.3 points while shooting 43.8% from the field, nearly 32% from downtown, and 89% from the foul line whenever Steph was out in the Dubs lineup this season. Aside from JP3, Klay has also been playing big for the Dubs as of late, and he too will have to step up his game as the season continues. But just like JP3, it's never been a problem for Klay if the other half of the Splash Brothers is nowhere to be found. Because as you can see here, Klay is just perfectly fine in carrying the offensive load for the Dubs as he averaged 26.5 points while shooting almost 44% from the field, 40.4% from 3, and 92.6% from the charity stripe in games where his backcourt partner sat out. The Dub system is like a well-oiled machine that uses interchangeable parts to keep things rolling, and Klay is no stranger to this as he can play the role of Steph to a T just like JP3. The split action is the Dubs' bread and butter in their offensive set, and here, you can see that Klay acted as if he was Steph, because after his defender went over the screen, Klay just knocked this 3-ball down without any sort of hesitation. And in case you didn't notice, Klay also dropped 31 points in that game while hitting 7 threes just like Poole. And if we're going to use this as a base sample, then we can pretty much assume that the Dubs won't be encountering any scoring problems in the next couple of weeks while Steph is out thanks to these two. Now, on top of this, here's some more great news for Dubs fans. With his 31-point outing against the Blazers, Klay seems to be peaking at the right time and slowly getting back to his old all-star form. Cause if you take a look at his production in this 15-game stretch, Klay has been averaging 26.8 points and 4.1 rebounds while shooting 46.2% from the field, 44.7% from three, and 94.1% from the free throw line. And when Steph finally gets back from his injury, then we might just see the most lethal version of the Dubs with both JP3 and Klay clicking at the same time as the playoffs are closing in. Apart from the stellar play of JP3 and Klay, Andrew Wiggins is also picking up steam after he sat out 15 games last year due to an injury. Ever since he returned to the lineup, Wiggins has been averaging 13.2 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, while shooting 40% from the field across 13 games. Now, if we're going to look at the big picture, Wiggins is the Dubs' fourth leading scorer this season, averaging just a tick below 17 a ball game, while having 47, 40, and 60 shooting splits. And just like JP3 and Klay, Wiggins is also pretty reliable when it comes to putting up points in the scoreboard. See, in this play, Wiggins kind of mimics Steph right here with the way he runs around the screens to free himself and shoot his wide open three-pointer. And once again, no Steph Curry, no problem for the Dubs. From the clips we just saw as well as the stats that we've broken down, the Warriors are going to be just fine in the upcoming weeks despite not having Steph in their corner. And as a matter of fact, this can actually be the best thing that happened to them if we're going to take a look at it from another perspective. I mean, since they're a man down, other players will have no choice but to step up and chip in more than they used to. Like Jonathan Kuminga, who's been averaging 11 points in his last 10 games, as well as other players like DiVincenzo, Anthony Lamb, and Ty Jerome. With this said, their game will definitely grow and improve during this challenging stretch without Steph, and when that happens, the Warriors are going to be a scarier team by the time the chef finally gets back into the fold, because everybody will be producing and contributing more on both ends of the floor, which will make them much tougher to deal with. And with that said, this is definitely going to be huge bad news for the rest of the league. So what do you guys think? Is Steph's injury a curse or a blessing in disguise? Let us know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to click on this next one you see on the screen. Go ahead and click it. It's free.